have Professor Anil Kulkarni, Dr. Ms. Saumitra Ranganathan, and Yashwant Patil, our International President in UK Commonwealth countries, and Dr. Jayaji Rao. And we're all sitting here in the conference and all the web, I could see all of you here. I think I request Professor J. Srinivasan, who obtained his BTech from IIT Madras, MS from State University, New York, and PhD from the Stanford University. He was the faculty of IIT Kanpur from 1975 to 1982. He joined Indian Institute of Science in 1982. He was the chairman of the Center for Atmospheric and Oceanic Science from 1997 to 2005, and chairman of the Mechanical Science Division from 2005-2009 at the Indian Institute of Science. He established this center, the Vecha Center for Climate Change, at the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore in 2009. He was the lead author of the second and fourth IPCC reports from climate change and a review editor of the third IPCC report of the climate change. He was the principal investigator of the Indo-French satellite mission Megatrophics, which was launched in the month of October 2011. And he is a fellow of the Indian Academy of Sciences, Indian National Science Academy, and Indian National Academy of Engineering. He was J.C. Bose National Research Fellow during the 2007-2012. He received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Ministry of Earth Science in 2019. His major scientific contribution are in the area of monsoon models and climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, more than that, a thorough gentleman, upright man, straightforward, and encourages the youngsters such a way. Is a wonderful thing to interact with him. It's a great honor to call him, to welcome the people officially and taking it over the future. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. Welcome you all to this seminar series on behalf of Professor S.K. Satish, Chairman, the Vecha Center for Climate Change. And this year, Dr. Paramesh has been organizing a monthly seminar in the topic related to health, environment, and climate change. We had many eminent speakers talk about various issues by which environment and climate change affect our health. And so we thank Dr. Paramesh for organizing this series. And we now have the next person in this series, and Dr. Paramesh will now introduce the speaker. Dr. Paramesh.
Thank you. In the absence of our chairman, Professor Satish, and J. Srinivasan, dignitaries, and we welcome you all, and our international president is there. And we welcome to you all for this seminar. And this week is the World Food Day. It started on the 16th of this month. Whole week we are going to celebrate. Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, the United Nations created in the year 1945. The World Food Day is celebrated since 16th December 1979 to enhance the awareness of the issues surrounding the poverty and hunger. Nearly 3 million children per year die for lack of nutrition food globally. We need to pledge and end hunger by establishing the food security and improve the nutrition and promote the sustainable agriculture. 40% of the world population cannot afford a healthy diet, and 2 million people are obese due to the poor diet and sedentary lifestyle. 14% of the food lost due to the inadequate harvesting, handling, and storage of transit. 17% of the food is wasted at the consumer level. Global agri-food sector provides jobs over 1 billion people, more than any other sector in India. Global food sector contributes more than 33% of the global greenhouse gases emissions, second one after industries. Air pollution, global warming, and climate change are interrelated and has got significant effect on agriculture and predicted over 20% reduction in the agriculture yield with the low content of the protein in them, along with certain vitamins. Our traditional adage tells, whoever is the father, bad nutrition is the mother of the disease. One who knows how to talk, don't involve in fight, and one who knows how to eat, what to eat, don't get into any disease. That's our adage. This year theme of the Global Food Day is to tackle global hunger and strive to eradicate hunger across the world. The Green Revolution started in India 1960. Crop production has increased 25% from 2002 to 2016. And rice in summer and monsoon, wheat in winter. The fire activity was going to happen, burning the stubs now, what's been happening in Delhi. Nearly 84% is produced by the Punjab, 19% from Haryana. Air pollution contributes significantly to global warming. As per WHO data, to get nutritious food, one has to spend about nearly 200 rupees per day for 3 meals. And that's what calculated with available food at the cheapest rate. To discuss these various challenges and to prevent the food-related health issues, we have with us Professor Qadar Wali, and to chair the session, we have with Professor Mallikarjun HP. I briefly introduced to you about this. Professor Qadar Wali did his schooling in his hometown, Produttur town of Kadapa in Andhra Pradesh, and did his schooling in also in Tirupati. BSc and MSc education in Mysore. He did PhD in the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. His research work was on steroid, their uses, side effects, and dangers. The postdoctorate fellowship in the environmental sciences and Beaverton, Oregon University, USA. His research was on deactivating the poisonous chemicals like dioxins, pesticide, fertilizers, etc. Research on lignans, secondary metabolites of plants, and their biological effect on human metabolism. He worked on as a scientist in CFTRI, Mysore, and did not like the idea of scientific knowledge misused for commercial purposes than benefit to the people. He worked as a scientist on a multinational DuPont company in USA on bioprocessing, genetic engineering, and returned to motherland and worked on his principle, our health is in the food what we eat. And he started his research on naturally grown foods and 2 decades research on various types of naturally grown millets and their beneficial effects during cancers, blood pressure, diabetes, and other non-communicable diseases. He also advised various food items which are immensely towards the survival of the nature's farming. His book, Siri Jagattu 2021, is quite famous. This book was dedicated with utmost reverence and gratitude to true biophilian by his better half, Srimati Usha Qadar, and his daughter, Dr. Sarala. He will discuss various environmental challenges he faced to prevent food-related health issues in managing the patient in his nutritional clinic. Let's eat right, and also physical environmental issues on the food production. Sir, welcome to you all for this one, for the program. To chair this session and moderate and give the concluding remarks, we have another eminent pediatric nutritionist here. He is Professor Mallikarjun HB, He's a professor of pediatrics at Oxford Medical College, and he's currently the president of the Bangalore branch Indian Academy of Pediatrics. We have got about 750 members in Bangalore, pediatricians.
1,500 plus.
No, oh my gosh, you know, double the number. 1,501 pediatricians are there in Bangalore, and we are proud of it, sir. Thank you. He's a national coordinator for Committee on Nutrition Advocacy of Central Indian Academy of Pediatrics 2018 and 2019. He's an international course director and a national trainer on breastfeeding and counseling. He's the vice president, Commonwealth Health and Disability, COMED UK and India chapter. He's the vice president of us. And many award-winning scientific papers he has to his credit, including Distinguished Service Award for the academic achievement. Thank you very much, sir. And over to you, and take over, sir. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for that nice introduction and generous words from the stalwart, Dr. Parmesh sir, our president, COMED India chapter, and respected Yashwant Patil sir, our international president sir, and all our COMED family, and my senior and mentor, Dr. Jayaji Rao sir. I'm very happy and humbled with the invitation and for giving me this opportunity to chair and give the concluding remarks. Without wasting much time, I invite our speaker onto the stage and to take over. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to this session. And to start with, I like to thank Professor Parameshwar for having this meeting and inviting me to give this lecture. This particular aspect of food, agriculture, climate change, global warming, health. Individually, I'm actually an out-of-the-box guy. So you may all have to bear with me. Now and then I go off track because personally I believe there is nothing like climate change, global warming, food, agriculture. These are not separate issues. These are all integrated into one. And the holistic way of looking at things has been slowly and systematically destroyed by this Western thought process of dividing and trying to learn things. But then there has never been an effort to integrate and look at things as a whole. The reason why we have had these problems because we are looking at individual health as a separate entity and issue, which is actually not the case in its true sense in reality. So that's why I call myself out-of-the-box guy. So there is nothing like pediatric department, there is nothing like global warming department, there is nothing like this departments that we have created is only for administrative purposes, but then the functionality of these departments have to be integrated so as to solve the problems that exist today. And in fact, there is an element of what are the challenges for having sustainable, secured, and healthy living society and as a planet a whole. So this kind of issues have to be talked together as a whole. So we find ourselves dividing ourselves in knowledge and trying to find solutions in the small circles that we have drawn around ourselves. And that is actually is the biggest challenge facing the human intellect. for solving the problems in its true sense. In its true sense, we want to solve the problems, we have to start integrating the knowledge. That, with the institutionalization of science into different departments, is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So, this being the punchline of today's lecture, everyone has to start thinking very seriously about this. And I have been working in the last 23, 24 years. The so-called scientific career that I had before did not and would not suit my thought process. So I had to be an independent scientist. I do not belong to any organization. And I have been trying to work in different dimensions, starting from how do I cure a gangrene patient who has to be operated tomorrow or amputated tomorrow? Can we save his leg? How do we make a farmer who is committing suicide because of marginalization of food corporate culture, eliminating the local foods that can be easily grown in their 4 or 5 acres of dry land when there is 4 rains are enough to produce certain food materials, and that food materials have been totally eliminated from the plates of human race. You see the stark reality. There were groups of people in India, northern Karnataka, who were growing kodo millet, brown top millet, and they were harvesting, they were eating, they were quite content and happy and healthy. But then now they do not want to eat the brown top that they are growing, because they feel, because of the food corporate culture, everyone has to eat rice, everyone has to eat wheat, everyone has to eat pizza, everyone has to eat burger. See, these are the pressures, this corporate food culture, because of the green revolution or white revolution, the so-called milk production increased in millions and millions of liters, and claimed by these food corporates that it is the real food. In fact, milk is alone good enough reason for many of the autoimmune diseases that we are facing in the present day world. What I'm trying to claim is that if you just eliminate milk from your food, we can close down 50% of hospitals in the world right now in a matter of 6 months. Because it is the milk that is creating the microbial and hormonal imbalance in human bodies. Human body is not designed to take other animals' milk, but no scientist, no doctor is coming forward claiming that. We have done that in the last 20 years. In our clinic, we have had the good opportunity of cleaning up of many, many diseases, including early menstruation for women. Now, the average age in India is 9 years to 10 years. The women are menstruating. It's just because we have consumed milk in large quantities from the age of 1 or 2 years. So we have done this experiment. Hundreds of girls, we have stopped giving milk, the so-called milk, and we have given them coconut milk for growing up. And lo and behold, all of these girls have started menstruating only at the age of 14 or 15, which was natural. So this kind of hardcore, hard-hitting experiments have to be done by the so-called scientists who are refusing to do this kind of experiments. So in the name of white revolution, we have had enormous impact on our natural resources. That means we are growing so many cows. I mean, just incredible amount of cows are being grown unnecessarily, and we are damaging the nature. Billions of cows are there now roaming the planet for food as well as giving milk, which is a huge dimension of irrelevant, nonsensical items that we are growing. That means so much natural resources are wasted on a product which is actually causing immense damage to the health of the humans. And this is what I call a holistic way of looking at things. So these are all facts that in 1950s, all over the world, no woman was menstruating below 14 or 15 years of age. Lo and behold, it started from America, Europe, and slowly it has spread all over the world. All over the world now, women, the girls are mentioned. In fact, recently in the last 3 to 4 months, I have received cases, the girls menstruating at the age of 3 or 4. So all these issues have to be integrated and looked as a holistic way. So we are talking about climate change. The methane gas is produced just because there are billions of cows, and the rice fields are another important reason why we are having methane produced in large quantities. And of course, Professor Parameshwar mentioned about the stubs being burnt and then global change, all this. So it's a holistic way of looking. So there would have been no need to increase the methane gas in the climate unless we changed our thought process. So we should not be producing milk the way we are producing. So food is connected to the global warming. The whole human race is consuming so much milk, which we are not supposed to. This animal protein, in fact, is directly linked to many of the cancerous conditions. That means the amount of milk that we are consuming is actually 18% reason why human race is facing cancerous conditions. And coming back to the rice and wheat that we are eating is absolute unscientific choice of the food that we have made, because our gut requires slow and steady release of glucose into our blood. The rice and wheat, the moment you eat, within 15-20 minutes releases flood of glucose into your blood, because there is no fiber to hold back the digestion of carbohydrate. That means the food corporate culture, for their industrial fertilizers, pesticide consumption, have directly, indirectly encouraged all these systems. So we should not be growing rice, building dams, putting water, and then getting the need for fertilizers and all these things. And what did we do after growing? Eating the rice and wheat, we have been flooding our blood, and that is the main and sole reason why the diabetes, the BP, the thyroid issues, and gut microbes completely being wiped out, causing microbial imbalance and the glucose imbalance. So the choice of the food that human race has made has been a completely unscientific one. And because there is flood of glucose into the blood, the body, sir mentioned 20 million people are obese. Why did this obesity come into picture? Because the excess glucose that is being flooded into the blood has to be taken care of. So the extra emergency work of liver, pancreas, and other systems has started accumulating cholesterol, glycogen, triglycerides, increasing all these contents in the blood, causing devastating effects on our health. So the amount of glucose in our blood has to be regulated. Regulated by whom? By the food that we eat. That means the definition of food is a material that releases glucose slowly and steadily into your blood, such that your HbA1c, that is glycosylated hemoglobin, is never beyond 6. But the conditions that we are creating due to the choice of our food materials, like what? Rice, wheat, and sugar. The sugarcane is grown 18% of the agriculture land all over the world. And sugar is the last thing that you want to put in your mouth, because it is the penultimate product in our digestive process before it becomes glucose and being absorbed. That means tons and tons of sugar is consumed by the human race just because they are growing sugarcane. And sugarcane is an unnatural and artificial crop because it does not grow in nature in such large quantities. It's only 0.3% or 0.4% of any forest that you go, even in rainforest. So we have increased selectively, which does not grow naturally, and occupied 18% of agricultural land of the planet. And the enormous resources that it requires to produce 1 kilo of sugar cane, 1 kilo of sugar is 28,000 liters of water. Imagine the effort the human race is putting to grow this many kilos of sugar, not kilos, tons and tons and tons. In fact, India alone grows beyond 28 lakhs tons. Our Karnataka grows every year 4 lakh tons. Maharashtra grows 6.8 lakh tons. And forget about Europe and America growing 10 times more. That means so many months of its growth, we have to provide water resources. And for that, we have been building dams, changing the courses of the rivers, and making silt happen. And the nutrition of the land, the water delta regions are being depleted. See, these are all the important aspects of our food choices. Hence, we have created enormous imbalance in nature. Just because you are taking milk, you are eating sugar, you are eating rice and wheat. That's all there is, nothing else. And this has to be looked at as an integrated fashion. No one is doing this. No scientists are talking about this. All over the world I'm talking about. All big institutes keep blabbering all kinds of statistics. But then these have to be connected and looked into. So now we could actually solve the problem of nutrition by growing the real food. These 4 or 5 grains which can grow just with enough 4 or 5 rains. That means all over the world, all dry lands can be our food making, crop yielding land. But then by choosing rice and wheat and sugar, we have eliminated all of these grains as food. And the people who are actually growing and eating and being healthy, they were very healthy. There was no diabetes, there was no cancer, there was no thyroid issues when they were eating this food. But now all over the world, people are consuming this corporate culture food, rice, wheat, sugar. And of course, I am not mentioning coffee and tea. That is another big damaging factor of the planet's mountainous areas have been occupied by coffee and tea, monoculture, devastating the diversity of the environment. So it is the food, the choices that we have made in the last 50 to 100 years as actually is the single reason why climate is changing. And this scientists are not able to speak out. So you can fix climate change problem only addressing our food and our agricultural practices. This is the lesson that I have learned. So only if we change food, you can do something about coming future generations. And we are all thinking about security, sustainability, without addressing the real root cause of the problem. And the yields of this rice and wheat are going to go down. Already it has started happening. 28% of the yields of wheat has come down in the last 15 years. That's because the globe is warming. And these two crops are not designed to sustain the increase in the temperature. Another 3 more degrees of centigrade increase, the yields will come down to 50%. Right now, because of all artificial methods of agricultural practices, we are having so-called buffer zones of wheat and rice. but then they are not going to last for more than 5 to 10 years. So it's high time human race has looked into the problems of future, which are much more serious than what we are painting right now, because we are trying to find solutions in a different domain which actually does not exist, because the real problem is somewhere else. So the food is the cause of our problems. The choice of the food that we have made in the last 40-50 years because of the corporate food culture, and the corporate food culture is leading us into a different dimension of danger, because in the future it's going to be much more monoculture. There will be soybean and corn which are genetically modified, and then they are going to be using the cell line cultures and producing the meat, the eggs. All these things can be produced with artificial intelligence right now coming up in the frontiers of science can match, and then you will have factory made food. There will be no need for growing anything else. So this kind of monoculture puts pressure on the resources of the nature in one dimension, and the imbalance is created very heavily. And this is the source of our problem. So the solutions is become very easy for us to figure out. So go back to the local regional food cultures where there is no imbalance created, because what grows abundantly should be the choice of food. And luckily, this has been declared way back in our Ayurveda text. The thing that grows around your geological conditions is the real food and medicine for you. This Charaka, Sashruta, these kind of great seers have declared in their big, wonderful texts. And there you find the solution. So last 25 years I've been working on this premises and started actually growing these wonderful millets which do not disturb the environment whatsoever. In fact, even at the temperature of 42 degrees centigrade, we have the same yields. In fact, some of the grains give you more yield. We have done this research. At the temperature of 40 degrees, foxtail millet gives you around 12 quintals, and at the degree of 25 to 30, it gives only 9 quintals. So even if the temperature touches 40 degrees, we can still grow food for the whole human race existing now. And in fact, the area of cultivation is enormously freely available for us. 80% of the land is now lying free, not being used for food production, because we cannot irrigate. There is no need for irrigation here. Absolutely not necessary. So you just need the rain. And we have 4 rains in India still. So all the land that is being wasted can be converted into cultivable land which grows the real food, because we have figured out these wonderful grains have 8% to 12.5% fiber associated with the carbohydrate. And it is complicatedly integrated, and the structure of the grain is such that when you eat these grains, slow and steady regulated release of glucose happens. That means if you eat 100 grams of this kodo millet, you have glucose being released slowly and steadily instead of 50 grams flooding your blood. When the 50 grams of the glucose flooded into the blood, then the system goes into emergency mode. And that's how you are making obese people. That's how you are making diabetic people. That's how you are making hypertense people. Because the excess glucose that is in the blood has to be manipulated by these internal endocrine systems working overtime and converting them into cholesterol, triglycerides, rheumatic factor, and disturbing the hormone balance and microbial balance. We are creating many more autoimmune diseases. So what is the basis? We have been successful in changing the food for these so-called diseased populations and successfully coming out of these diseases without winking an eye. What I'm trying to communicate is we have thousands of gangrene patients who are destined to be amputated their legs and live a harmful life for future. We have been successfully managed to eliminate the need for amputation by asking them to consume within 3 weeks to 4 weeks. The slow and steady release of glucose into the blood reduces their HbA1c in a matter of 3 months. And we have eliminated thousands of diabetic patients from this food change, which is completely declared as incurable. Diabetes is incurable. BP is incurable. They are managing by insulin injections, metformin, glycomet, these kinds of unnatural artificial drugs, managing the glucose levels, not really solving the problem. So we can completely eliminate all diabetic patients from this planet, all of the diabetic patients in a matter of 2 years. Only when we change our food from rice, wheat, meat, milk to this. We have named these 5 grains as Siridhanya. In our Indian language, Siri means the real wealth, not the money. The wealth for human beings is Arogyave Mahabhagya. That is, health is the real wealth. Of course, people have wealth means different meanings, but then without the real wealth of health, wealth doesn't mean anything. So that's how we have named these 5 grains. These 5 grains are wonderful because each grain in its fiber cleans up your body then and there. It has soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. And the beauty of these grains, the upper layers have got lignans, which are actually theoretically the best PMF, proton motive force. So the EMF, electron motive force, has to be negated to see that the toxic morbid waste is not accumulated in the body. This is a medical fact. The diseases are arising because we are not able to clean up our body on a regular daily basis, because the modern day man's food is not filled with wonderful fiber. And these 5 grains have got this fiber enriched 8% to 12.5%. In fact, the brown top has got 12.5% of fiber, which actually cleans up your digestive canal. And the little millet has got wonderful fiber that cleans up your reproductive organs. And the foxtail millet has got the fiber that cleans up your lungs and nerves. And the barnyard millet cleans up your all soft parts like liver, pancreas, brain, made out of fat material. So when you eat these 5 grains consecutively, 2 days each or 3 days each, all your parts in your body are cleaned up, rid of toxic morbid waste on a regular basis. Hence, the wellness returns to your body. So we have been successful in clearing up cancerous conditions, including HIV, so-called HIV conditions. That means viral infections can also be eliminated because the natural immunity starts getting into place, because we take care of glucose imbalance, microbial imbalance, and hormonal imbalance. So we advised thousands and thousands of patients in our clinic for the last 20 years. We have been very, very successful in eliminating these diseased conditions permanently. In fact, I would like to mention one single example of twin girls coming into our clinic at the age of 1.5, because the mother and father wanted to shift to Bangalore. The babies are born in Mysore and their grandparents are living in Mysore. So they divided the twins. One baby girl in Mysore, another baby girl in Bangalore. The one couple with their baby came to Bangalore did not follow the food systems that we have recommended, and the girl that stayed back in Mysore followed this food system. She never had milk, she never ate rice, she never took sugar, because their grandparents are staunch followers of millet food, and we call it Siri Jivana Marga, the science and art of living. So when you eliminate rice, wheat, milk, sugar, and meat, and put the baby from one point, and at the age of 9, the girl living in Bangalore menstruated. At the age of 14, the girl living in Mysore menstruated. And many wonderful experiments we have done like this to prove our point that holistically we live with natural food materials. And of course, now it is a well-known fact that millets contain all the minerals and vitamins that you require, including lignans, the lateral, which actually is one of the main sources of cleaning up of our body, as I have explained to you in terms of EMF and PMF. What it means is that when we are actually trying to generate energy, the tumbling down of electrons through cytochrome system creates different levels, different metabolites, and different biological or toxic morbid waste. And if we find this pool of lignans, which are actually nothing but aromatic stabilized electron pool. So an electron coming and falling into this pool, which is actually not a direct PMF, but works as a wonderful PMF, absorbs all the this has got best antioxidant activity. So the oxidative free radical formations are blunted, annulled there and then in the body if these lignans are floating in your blood, which is not present when you eat rice, wheat, sugar, or meat. And that is the qualitative difference that these wonderful grains provide. Hence, your wellness depends on the foods that regulate glucose in your blood, that can clean up your systems on a daily, regular basis, and encourages hormonal balance. So these three aspects, if you keep in your food, and that automatically has to show up in your agricultural practices, and that automatically reflects in your environmental devastation that you are not going to cause, because these do not disturb environmental conditions. We don't need to rob the natural resources. This should have been the choice of food for human race way back 50 years ago. But then the food corporate culture has been sabotaging the issues in declaring, deciding, determining the way human race is walking in the last 40, 50 years. So it's high time the individual scientists and the organizations and the doctors and the healthcare systems have to start looking at a different dimension, different way of doing things, a different way of looking at the issues. Though mine is a solo attempt, I strongly believe that I have found some path to solve our issues, both at individual levels, at farmers levels, at local agricultural practices. All these issues are tied up, and they are all tied up with one single common factor, that is the food, choice of the food. So if you change your food, you will change your life. You change your food, you will save the planet. So as long as this big difference doesn't come through, we are not going to solve any problem coming next 50 years. So it is the food that holds the key for all the solutions that the human race is presently facing. So the holistic way of looking at things is you need to understand why and how we are producing our food. Is it necessary to produce that food? Because after eating that food, human race is enhanced conditions of disease mongering. Our systems have become less immune strong. Strong immunity is out of our bodies. So viral infections are going to spread and become more because the human bodies have become less strong immune. We are not able to fight. Why? We have forgotten the basics of keeping our body, which requires to have strong immunity. Vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin D. Again, vitamin B is produced by microbes in our guts. No one produces vitamin B12. Nobody can produce. It is the microbes that produce. It is the symbiotic living of gut microbes in your intestines that can make this job. But then what are the corporate culture telling? Oh, we will make injections, we will make vaccines, we will do this. See, unless you improve your immunity, your vaccination drives, all these things are peripheral and temporary and transient. So the variants that are going to come one after the other, what will you do? So the solutions that we are seeking are business models, not real scientific models. So vitamin B is strengthened by us consuming fermented porridge of these wonderful grains. We can actually eliminate HIV conditions in the body by making people drink the porridge. The porridge, in fact, I've got it. That's my food for dinner. I carry whenever it's there in my bag. Somewhere in my bag is there. So you soak the grains because the fiber content is high. You need to hydrate the fiber before you cook. Without hydrating the fiber, you cannot cook the grains. So you soak the grains for 6 to 8 hours. Then the fiber is hydrated. You can easily, just in sim fire, you can cook them in 5 to 10 minutes. And then put it in a mud bath and tie a cotton cloth and keep it for 8 to 10 hours. The fermentation happens. This wonderful enriched nutrient food invites the microbes from the environment that can grow, and that microbes are symbiotically doing good for your tummy. So you start consuming this for 21 days, lo and behold, your vitamin B12 increases in your body. But then what are these doctors telling? All the medical world? You take probiotics, you do this. What is probiotics? You don't have probiotics because you are eating all the fertilizer, pesticide-ridden greens, vegetables. Where are microbes to grow in your body? Even if you eat raw food, unless the microbes are supplied from this prebiotic food that you eat. So systematically, we have eliminated these wonderful things from our food by our food choices. So unless you make change there, how can you be healthy? And we claim we are all healthy because we want supplements. It suits the business. So you have calcium supplement, you have B12 supplement, you have vitamin D supplement. Vitamin D is freely available. Just expose yourself to the sun. No, those practices are gone. We call it Surya Namaskara. So instead of encouraging every individual to get up in the morning, early rising sun, no one talks about it. And that's the most scientific way of producing vitamin D in your body. Why I'm telling is we have enough data. Fortified milk with vitamin D is being supplied all over the world. for the last 50 years, or in India 15 years or so. Vitamin D deficiency is found now 63% of people all over the world. And if you think your vitamin D fortified milk is not doing the job, why are you not claiming that? Why are you not claiming that? We keep saying vitamin D fortified, do this, do that, and now the companies are trying to fortify rice. What will you fortify? Because there is nutrition, lack of nutrition. God has given nutritionally loaded grains here. See, this is what I call business. The science is masked for business. You all have to excuse me for being straightforward. We have done this independent research. We have had thousands. No, actually now it's beyond lakhs. In fact, recently I went and gave a lecture in Gujarat. I said lakhs of people are benefited. No, sir, you do not know. Crores of people are benefited because we have made this information freely available in the form of PDF and then tables. Can you just put the PPT? Few of the information, the pictures of images of these grains. Yeah, just open and browse it. You just browse it. That's my daughter, who is also working with me. She is a homeopathy BHMS doctor. We have been working. Diabetes, like this, many, please just go through. Yeah. Photosynthesis, cellular respiration. And these are the grains, and I actually would like to show you physically. Yeah, this is foxtail, this is little. This is kodo millet. This is barnyard millet. This is brown top millet, which is slightly greenish. Yeah, these are the grains. Yeah, here is the nutritional chart. You can see clearly the carbohydrate and fiber, the last three columns. And the last column is actually the carbohydrate by fiber ratio. You can see these 5 grains have got single digits, and all the other grains, rice and wheat, have the highest. Rice is 395. That is fiber to carbohydrate ratio, 0.2 grams. That's all. And the wheat has got 1.2 grams or so. That's all. So you see in all double digits and high numbers, that is the reason why these grains release glucose flood-like manner. And you see 7, brown top is 5.5, and little millet is 6, kodo millet is 7. All these 5 grains have got single digits, and that is the reason why they release glucose slowly and steadily. And so the soluble and insoluble fiber getting into blood and then your intestinal guts, absolutely doing wonders in cleaning up of the system on a daily basis. So the wellness holistically found by God's grace in these grains. And when you ferment this porridge and take your gut microbes in a matter of 21 days replenish. And you know that the gut microbes are actually your second brain, because they are the ones logistics, deciphering, distributing, all the works, the real planning takes place here. Whichever part has got deficiency of, say, vitamin B12 or some salts, they are the ones which plan and send it to that particular organ. This is the brain you think you have thinking, but this doesn't do all that. Even the wellness, the thought process, you are being calm, being happy depends on the wealth of the microbial symbiotic living. So actually, this is your first brain. Controlling that is your second brain, microbe, gut microbes. The same way your heart, the wellness of your heart depends on your second heart, which is actually the cough muscles. So that's the reason why everyone has to walk. When you walk, your cough muscles pump and hold the. So if your cough muscles are not healthy, your heart is going to be certainly not healthy. So that's why I keep telling in my lectures, common man's language. You think this is your brain, the real brain is here. You think this is your heart, the real heart is down in the legs. So you need to take care of your stomach and your calf muscles. That means you eat the right food and have enough exercise. So walk daily 1 or 2 hours. You are going to be healthy. And that you can explain in different ways, actually. You walk this happens, that happens, all that. But the real thing, to keep your heart well, you need to keep and in fact, it holds even when you become aged. If you are healthy, as good as your calf muscles. So if your legs are not all right, you are not going to be healthy. And that's why the movement, in fact, human body is designed to walk. That means the calf muscles that take the load of the work has to be constantly moving. So the movement part of it is because, and everything gets cleaned up. When you walk for 1 or 2 hours on a daily basis, nothing bothers you. So this is the reason why you walk. To keep your heart functioning well, you need to keep your second heart right. To keep your brain functioning well, you need to keep your second brain properly. For the second brain, you need ambali. We call that fermented porridge in Indian language, ambali, South Indian language. And in Hindi, it is called khameer. Okay. So this is the beauty of these wonderful grains, and we named them as positive grains and neutral grains and negative grains. So I will just explain a few minutes about the neutral grains. These grains have got the fiber in smaller quantity compared to the positive grains, and at the same time they are also millets, so their structure of the grain is very similar, but the amount of it is very small. You see the double digits, so they do not really cause any disease. But then if you are already sick, to get you out of that pit, the neutral grains cannot do the job. So only these 5 grains whose carbohydrate to fiber ratio is in single digits can do the job for you. So by growing these grains, we maintain the balance of the environment and nature. We don't need to cut the forest. We don't need to build the dams. We don't need to disturb the environmental ecological factors. We don't need of doing anything, any damage to the environment, because they require the least natural resources and very sustainable, because even an open land where there is nothing, we can grow this. And once season or 2 seasons you grow, the land becomes fertile, because while growing this, when there is the seed formation on the plant, thousands of birds come and visit your farm. When they come, while going back, they give their droppings, and the droppings are most enriching required elements for your soil. So where there is birds, where there are animals, that's how the nature keeps rotating itself, sustaining itself. So these are the wonderful principles we have discovered in this journey of 25 years. So as a whole, we have a message to the human race. Please change your food. You will change your life, and that will change our planet. And we can live all the living things on this planet, because we have been disseminating, indiscriminately killing all the life forms for our consumption of food. So thank you very much, sir, Professor Parameshwar, and the Climate Change Department, esteemed professors, and having me here is excellent for me, because this is the alma mater where I did my PhD back in 1980. So it feels wonderful to come back, and just being in the premises, just bring back old memories, and I feel like a boy. Actually, we were just crossing the walls and going out and seeing movies, and so I was coming, driving, and just all those memories. So thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity, as well as bringing back my old memories in a pleasant part of my life. In fact, I think everyone would agree that those were the days, when you want to pick those days, those were the days, young, wonderful time we had. And so thank you, sir. Thank you all. Thank you very much. And you could ask questions. Question and answer session. I'll stay back here if someone asks.
Yes, sir. Before giving remarks, I have few questions, sir. So you being the scientist, why our other field scientists have not accepted this thing? That I was very, very delighted to hear that there will be no diabetes if you change the diet. It is such a simple statement. And why are we resisting? Why are we not trying that, like any other trials about the drugs? Any other trials about what all we did for COVID, yes, the new storm? And the existing thing, why are we not able to adopt and see once?
Yes, that's exactly the...
I think that's a big question that, going through your discussion, that's what came to my mind. I think it is amazing. Why are we resisting?
Corporate culture, as simple as that.
No, sir, why are the scientists of various forums and specialities are not? Forget about corporate. I'll tell you, at some stage of my life, I was also telling my friends, no, it is my wish. I've gone through that phase of leaving them alone. Why is the scientific creamy layer of our country is not accepting your wonderful proposal, at least as a trial? We have done all the trials, vaccine trial, drug trial, pharma trials. What not, sir? We tried hydroxychloroquine, not useful. Many other drugs, not useful. And ultimately, remdesivir is not useful unless it is used at the right time. Yeah. And such a wonderful presentation. I was amazed, really. I think I should salute Dr. Parmesh sir and team Jayaji sir and the whole team of the Vecha Center for Climate and COMED International and India for inviting me to learn more than giving my remarks. That's what the enlightenment that I had. But I have spoken half of what you have spoken to the mothers, to tell you honestly. The whole of the chapter of immunology and allergy, what sir heads, can be zeroed in a similar statement to your statement. We stopped using the milk because out of 3,500 plus mammalians which produce milk, do not use other animals' milk. Yes. Except 3. Primary, one is the biggest culprit, and the person who has done crime is human being. He has spoiled the pet cat and the pet dog, are the other 2 people who have been contaminated by the human being by offering the milk, but tying them in front of the door, listening to some sound. Probably it may be a part of, their satisfaction of you better be under my control, may be the thing. That's one. And they have no right, because you see that, and no animal cubs or the offsprings die due to shortage of milk. And I have heard every mother now telling not enough milk. It is a brain disorder, according to me.
Because of the nutrition that you.
No. It is corporate culture, sir. So see, they will squeeze and see whether, like buffalo, they can yield the milk. Look at that, no sense.
Nonsense.
I don't want to use that word. That's why I said no sense. And they want to squeeze and tell. And grandmother herself tells, a baby is crying, that's why you do not have milk. There is no rationale. There is no scientific evidence. In fact, what we have looked is the duration of feeding. See, you want to milk 10 liters, we need some time. We want to milk 5 liters, we need half of the time. We want to feed the baby 10 liters, then we have to spend the duration enough to feed 10 liters of milk from the mother. It comes by drop. It is nature's law. We have to nurture the nature. I totally agree with you, sir. But it is not happening. They are in a hurry. Mother is with the mobile, mother is with the television, mother is with the media, and she wants to keep talking to people while offering the feed.
Lot of problems.
Yeah, she's not focused at all, modern mother. Yes, corporate culture. And we do not know. We speak about all other countries except ours. Without going to America, many are following American culture. I don't know why. It's a mania, according to me. I may be wrong.
No, sir, you are absolutely right.
And I keep telling, if you avoid milk, see the milk powder. We have seen drugs, expiry dates being thrown out. Comes in the media. Oh, so much of drug is wasted at government PHC. So many drugs government people have not done. Corporate doesn't come out. Because they are wise enough to dispose what and how, where. But the same thing, we don't find baby milk powder being thrown as expiry date anywhere in the world. The secret is, we don't know when the cow was milked, when it was dried, when it was processed, when it was stored, when it was taken out from the storage, when this powder milk was processed with added vitamins, because the message is the vitamins are lost in a time bound. Exactly. They are added with special vitamins. We are all getting fascinated without knowing the basics. Then this powder milk is not utilized. It is used for ice creams. And then they make chocolates because they can add colors. And the texture and other things is heavenly. But it is the most old, stale, stored, added with vitamins is my definition for these formula feeds. And we are consuming milkshakes, ice creams, cream biscuits, all is milk. We are overdosed with milk. Milk has become a poison now, according to me. The whole of allergy, immunology chapter can be minimized to a smallest extent. One day I visited Dr. Srinivas Murthy, the popular dermatologist in near somewhere Double Road, sir. You maybe. I went to his clinic to see something as a nutritionist. A mother was sitting like this, and for a small child, 3-year-old was sitting. She was reading a journal, and literally, I didn't record. Baby is doing this. Mother is also added up. 3 hands of scratching is not enough. The whole skin is
I have had such cases.
atopy, dermatitis, wheezing, aspirations.
Yes.
So honestly, I have tried in my last 20 years, 5 years, I was also trying to understand more of nutrition. But in the last 2 decades, when I stopped milk, I say zero milk throughout life. This is my statement in my clinic in the practice.
Yes.
And I was very happy to hear you telling that, Bapre, one more person is there next to me to justify my statement. I felt I am right. I think it was a wonderful day. I came, I applied leave, did everything. Parmeshwar said, no, you are an expert, you have to be here. No, I'm not an expert, but I was enlightened more. Do you know the number of children wheezing has come down, sir? The skin problems have been minimized. Children are eating better. I remember my grandmother telling, if this is the size of the stomach, this is the amount of the milk that we give, and this is the amount of upma that we can give because the stomach size is so much. Fill with milk, what is the energy that the child is getting? 86% is water. And cow's milk,
Actually, 90.
not suitable, species specific. It is a different species. Same upma with 1 spoon of ghee makes the child grow well. Look at the calorie dense calculation of that. These are all the.
So I didn't speak about oils. We have found a Niger seed oil is most beautiful for the kids to grow their brain development, everything.
So let us encourage, because many mothers are looking for olive oil, 1,500 rupees
So
liter.
I would like
Bapre.
to send him the book.
Please, sir.
PDF.
Please, sir. Please, sir. Please send, sir. That's why I was taking to some photos. Thanks for that understanding. And the next thing is homemade marmite. Homemade marmite is not a complete sentence. Homemade marmite, traditional, appropriate, adequate. The statement is complete now. You can expand the world of nutrition with this statement. I think I'm sure, sir,
Yes,
because
we worked on that.
understand,
We did
because
that already.
the moment we say mom will taste and throw it to the dustbin, it is not tasty. Mom will check the grains. I've seen my grandmother, whenever we went to, yeah, Saturdays. Hey, come here, take Hey, no. What a wonderful knowledge grandmothers had. And finally, she used to bring the best grains, process the way you said, till neeral vande hakodalla, sir. And then tie it in a wet cloth till the sprouts penetrate out of the cloth in a very, very longer version. It was so enriched.
Yes.
And nothing they added any chemicals in today's chemical world. You take a biscuit packet. I think all of us have the habit of, by default. I stopped 10 years back, sir, eating biscuits.
46 years now.
Good, you said. You had to be, sir. You were in the world of best of the scientific practices. I was still an evolving person after becoming a good pediatrician for my livelihood, but I didn't leave my passion of going through nutrition and to do the best as promised to my teacher, Dr. Nirmala Kesri. So then they used to, all these, take one simple biscuit. There are 9 chemicals. Sir, the deadly statement printed on the paper is, hope you know that, I will repeat it. Nature identical flavors and coloring agents. Please explain to me, sir. Anyone here? You go back and read, same sentence. Nature identical flavoring agents and coloring agents. What a killing statement it is, sir. How can that FSSAI can approve that? I do not know.
No, genetically modified systems are approved on the same sentence.
No, sir. I think if we take up such things, I think we have to, sir, keep on doing it. So, like Parmeshwar is doing from almost 50, 55, 60 years, pediatric academy. He has stood alone many times and people have accepted. Even in Bangalore, after I entered, 1,500 pediatrician plus have accepted me. I have not changed, sir.
Yes.
They have changed about me, to tell you in a simple language.
Excellent.
We should stick on to the right things, and 2 decades have made the difference. They did not accept me. They called me this, they called me that. They called me I am like Dr. Parmesh. They called me I am like Jayaji Rao, sir. But finally they call me like, oh, Mallikarjun is like Mallikarjun. I have not changed, sir. I have worked like that only on the principles. So it was a very enlightening one. I think there is a lot of message to be carried. I think I'm sorry that our own scientists have not taken up these things, sir. With this, thanks to you and hats off to you. Nice meeting you. Otherwise, I would have missed an opportunity to meet you, to learn this. and take it forward further, sir. Please share all your work, sir.
Yes, I will.
I will be carrying now 2 flags. I was carrying only 1 flag of Nirmala Kesari on child nutrition. Now I will carry Nirmala Kesari and Khadar, sir. Because it is right. You have not influenced me. I got influenced by you and your presentation. Thank you. Questions? Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, please.
Wonderful presentation, and we learned quite a lot on our speech. But I was wondering, sir, that you showed me the chemical composition of this millet.
ಇದು full. Audience ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ನಾನು ತಕೊಳ್ಳಿ.
Metal content of these millets.
ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ.
Because actually it is having that Hyderabad nutritional center. They gave me, actually we are dealing with various other heavy metals, including uranium and fluoride and etc. on the ground.
Yes.
So what I was wondering is there any change of this metal content? Because you used a word geology.
Yes.
Because it differs from the geological background. We were trying to relate the amount of heavy metals, amount of metals, etc. with reference to different places. Say, for example, a millet that is grown in Bangalore, millet that is grown in Belagavi, millet that is grown in Chitradurga, whether there will be any change in these things, so that we can relate it to the place or the soil that is
So that kind of detailed studies have not been done, but I can
we went to Hyderabad, sir.
Yeah,
we went to Hyderabad
I know,
for
sir.
nutritional
Yeah.
inquiry.
I can comment on one thing on this, is that these millets are C4 foods. What does it mean? C4 foods mean they build their glucose when the grain is formed from oxaloacetic acid, 4 C4 chain, whereas rice and wheat built from pyruvate, carbon 3, they are called C3 foods. So C3 to C4, the genetic makeup is you require water. And that's why C3 foods increase their yields when you give water. And that is the problem we are facing now. Because of that characteristic C3-4, rice and wheat are chosen so that they can build dams and all these things are encouraged. So when you have that C3 nature, the genetic makeup, the water increases the yields. And that is actually the reason why rice grown in this area, that area becomes different. Because whatever is soluble in water, including some insoluble metals, can be made soluble by making into salts. And then the deposition, systemic deposition of these metals can happen in wheat and rice. Whereas that element deposition is almost eliminated according to my grasp of the physiology of the plant growth. That C4 foods like these do not have the water requirement when the glucose is made. And that is the reason why these guys grow even in places where there is no water, because just to sustain the plant growth, water requirement.
Dry lands.
Dry lands.
Yeah.
And even in winter, the water available in the atmosphere is less.
Okay.
You see the point?
I'll take it up.
I am trying to answer your question technically, but all said and done, it is important that the data is collected the way you have designed the experiment. See, that experiment has to be designed, but according to me, because we have worked from grains from different places. Now actually I have samples from Chhattisgarh, I have samples from Colorado. The brown top millet is grown in Colorado, tons of it, but they are not eating. They are throwing into the bird feed. That is their stupidity. That's a separate issue. So we have seen no difference in the nutritional qualities
That means when I feed the Colorado brown top, we have eliminated the diseases very successfully. And we have fed the chikungunya belly, the person who was, in fact, we have initially started growing things in that area only. From there only I have sourced to all my patients, including chikungunya, gangrene patients, HIV patients. And so right now, the whole Telangana, Andhra, and Tamil Nadu, I have given seeds to thousands of farmers now. The whole South India is now hubbing with this millets right now. So, in fact, we worked very hard when we presented to the central government that millet year should be announced, and United Nations now has declared 2023 as a year of
What
millets.
he was asking was the transfer factor
Yes.
of various
Metals.
trace elements
Yes.
from the ground to the plant, sir.
Yeah, that happens in C3 foods more often.
Why specifically I was asking
Yes.
was we, as Professor Srinivasan and Professor Parameshwar also knows that you see in eastern Karnataka,
Yes.
we have very high abundance of uranium.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that uranium is entering into water system there.
Yes, and that's what I said. I
So
answered
that
your
is the
question.
reason
Yeah.
why we are worried that what is the total amount of uranium that is entering into the human system.
Yeah, if you take C3, C4 difference, C3 foods carry these things quite more. And there are some particular vegetables which actually have phenicity. They like to absorb, especially onions. Onions have more efficiency for big metals like lead and things like that. So, in fact, some Liliaceae family plants are used to decontaminate the land in that.
In fact, one of the wonderful questions that Professor Srinivasan asked me when I talked about uranium in water, uranium being such a precious element, why don't you produce that? That's what the question that he asked.
In fact, the people are working on that, sir. There are plant systems and some microbe systems also. They are trying to induce the microbial genome into the plant such that it starts absorbing the. In fact, the future of research is going to be all cell lines, microbial cell lines, which are going to be transferred to the plants, like even brinjal and things like that. So that's being worked out, of course, which is not a good thing according to me.
Yes, sir. Whatever is not natural is not natural. That's why even body system, whenever we consume foods which are not suitable, it throws it out. Simple understanding. So thank you, sir. Thank you for that answer. I mean, still it is a little Greek and Latin. We will learn from you. So with this, I think I will invite our international president, Dr. Yashwant Patil, sir, has raised his hand. Sir, over to you, sir. If any questions, and welcome to this question and answer session.
Sir, namaste. Namaste.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar. Hats up to you. Salute to you, sir. Sir, I am very much thankful to Dr. Srinivasan, sir, Paramesh, sir, Mallikarjun, Dr. Jayaji Rao, and all the delegates. I welcome. Good afternoon to all. And salute to Dr. Khadar Valli, sir. Sir, I heard about you during one of the speeches about Padma Shri Dr. B.M. Hegde. He used to always refer to your name and praise about your achievements as a known physician for reversal of diabetes, along with Dr. Pramod Tripathi from Pune, if I am not wrong, sir.
Yes.
So, after hearing his lecture, I then followed your lectures in YouTube, and I was quite impressed about your millets and diet millets. So, hats up to you, sir, for your research on an individual ground, not with the institute. Hats up to you for that. Sir, I am also against a white revolution. When I came into BPM, Breastfeeding Promotion Network of India, I also stopped telling patients not to give animal milk at all. Go for breast milk only because it's a natural source, not to go for And also the white relation, that is, you said that maida, sugar.
Yes.
I also advising my patient to use of millets in the diet. So with your lecture, I was quite impressed, and I was keeping a track that 18th I have to be with my laptop to hear your excellent talk, sir. Sir, my one question,
Yes.
as you have said, that our second heart is our calf. That is true. And second is your gut to maintain the normal microbiota in the gut. We know gut is the thing in diet. Should we use curd also to maintain our microbiota? As you said, fermented food. It's because I also advise my patients to have a good digestion, good growth, fermented, that is amylase rich food in their diet for the better of their health. So second question is that what is the role of curd? Should we go for curd? Second question, sir, for how many times we should use millets in diet? We take 2 meals. One is lunch and dinner. So should we use millets in all the times of lunch or meals?
Yes, sir. I will answer your first question, curds. Yes, curds is actually a single culture, sir. It is single microbe, lactobacillus. But our gut requires zillions of diversified microflora, and that diversified microflora comes from the fermented porridges, which is the culture of all over the world. In fact, fermented porridge is most important. So curds is one of them. I mean, one microbe. So which is actually few places it's a culture, like dahi is culture of North India, and
Yes.
buttermilk is culture of South India. I don't know why dahi in North India people consume, but in South India it is buttermilk. They dilute it. Maybe that you get more milk there, we get less milk. And when we speak of natural cow's milk, they give 1 liter or half liter. And after giving the calf its due, you hardly get quarter liter of milk from a milking cow. So that milk they used to ferment. Fermentation actually happens if you just boil and keep the milk, and it picks up the lactobacillus by itself generally. And if you want specifically, you can add a small capsicum, that is green chili, it will start. So green chilies are actually source of lactobacillus, the edge. So curds once in a while is okay, sir. And I don't think we should bother cows for our curds consumption. So if it is available, you can take. Otherwise, it's not must. You could actually make lactobacillus curds by using groundnut milk. Maybe coconut milk also you can make into lactobacillus rich curds. So, and coconut milk is absolutely in our research found exactly like mother's milk.
Yeah.
Without animal protein. So we have cured hundreds, not hundreds of thousands of kids of many of their issues, starting from constipation to allergies and nasal allergies to lungs infections, including pneumonic conditions. In fact, I should not refer to these incidents, but because you asked the question, the moment we stopped milk, the person who was in ICU, the kid who was in ICU with all the wonderful so-called technological advanced help, they were not able to help the kid. And the moment they stopped the milk and gave the kid coconut milk, within 2 days, the boy stabilized. Within 5 days, the boy walked out of it.
Good.
And till today, now he is 21 years old. He never had a single incident of asthma or bronchitis or any other condition. So just avoiding milk, we can close down hospital after hospital actually. Hospital after hospital. And elders, lot of autoimmune diseases are being caused. And in fact, according to me, muscular dystrophy is actually they call it a rare disease, but nowadays it is becoming common disease. That also we have had the good opportunity and good luck of healing lot of muscular dystrophy cases just by stopping and feeding them the wonderful foxtail millet and brown top millet does the trick. And in every case we insisted for fermented porridge. So the fermented porridge is like magic. Of course, I don't like the word magic because we can repeat this in case after case after case. Lakhs of people have been helped. So, in fact, many people call me magic man or miracle man. I resist to those words because then we go out of purview of science. So science does not do magic. It does consistently the same result because we do things scientifically. So let you bring thousands of cases, we can heal them by practicing the real scientific procedures. So porridge, fermented porridge is one of the most important nutritional, which covers microbial, glucose and hormonal imbalance. These three are the basic causes of present day human illnesses. So we have to systematically eliminate glucose imbalance, microbial imbalance and hormonal imbalance. Then we can cure almost any disease.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes,
For
sir.
your clarification. And second question, sir, that should we use millets in all the meals?
Yes, whenever you are hungry. So the problem with all of us is we are eating 3 times. We should not be eating 3 times. We should be eating 2 times, morning once and evening lightly.
Okay.
But because of the foreigners and this Western thing, we started eating 3 times, 4 times. Nowadays, people are eating 6 times, which is very sad.
What about brown rice, sir? Brown rice?
So the carbohydrate by fiber ratio is very high. So they seem to be better than your polished rice, but compared to these 5 grains, they stand nowhere. They stand nowhere.
That's fine, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So
Thanks.
much.
Thank you, Yashwant Patel, sir. I invite now
Thank you,
Dr.
Malik.
Parmesh, sir,
Thank you.
for the question.
Thanks.
1 minute, sir. Parmesh, Professor Parmesh has a question.
Sir, as we know that as the global warming, climate change, the total food production going to be less and also various contents going to be less. To overcome this one, the Indian Council of Agriculture Research has developed a crop varieties of special traits. Nearly by avoiding the malnutrition, undernutrition by 2021, they identified 35 crops, which include millets.
Yes.
So varieties, there are all special traits. Maybe they're genetically modulated. How do you comment on this one? Where do we go in this context, sir?
Sir, you're putting me in a very complicated situation. The answer is very simple, sir. That anything natural, the institutes do not want them to be natural because they can control. Once they have some so-called wanted traits, the seed becomes the companies or an organization. Natural seeds cannot be patented. So the moment you have some modification, then the seed is patented. So the control comes into picture, and that's what the corporate culture has been all along. So even if you have all good qualities are there in the natural things, there is no need for you to do anything. But then they will find something and tweak, and then you have a genetic code or something which is in their patent. And so it's basically taking away the right of the farmers on the seeds. And that has been the history of agricultural research, whether it is Indian Council of Agricultural Research or American Agricultural Research, whatever may be the research. So the scientists are actually want to be in focus and then patent. All these things have been built up by this corporate culture. So that is my answer. So I believe you leave it to nature and find what is good for you, because we are part of nature. We do not have right to go on meddling with these things, and we follow nature, we will be taken care of. If you do not follow, we will be attacked by nature, and that's what is happening now. Whether it is corona or something else, this, that, or whatever. Not only this, even including the climate change problems, all are, according to me, man-made. We are all making these things up. And if we fall back and follow natural systems, all these things will be mitigated in a matter of 10 to 15 years. Doesn't take more time, though we have taken enough time to spoil it. But nature can correct in a very short span of time, if only we follow nature. We are not doing that. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the question.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll.
What about ragi?
Ragi is called neutral millet. You can eat if you don't have disease. ನಿನಗೆ ಡಯಾಬಿಟಿಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, BP ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ತಿನ್ಬೋದು. ಡಯಾಬಿಟಿಸ್ ಇದೆ, BP ಇದೆ, HIV ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ 5 ಧಾನ್ಯ ತಿನ್ಬೋದು.
And one of the good question, sir.
I'll answer that question. It's because it is systematically eliminated by this corporate culture that no one is growing. In fact, if 20 years ago they didn't know what was kodo millet, what was brown top millet, I had this vision of bringing it back. So in the last 20 years, in fact, we have made enough strides that now a middle class person can actually buy millets. And in fact, here Teju is sitting. They're all trying their level best to provide to common man also. That is possible if we allow the farmers to grow. Why will farmer grow? Only if you buy it. So there has to be a demand created. Supply demand question. So in a matter of 5 years, if we all demand, then the more number of farmers will grow and automatically the price will grow. But the government is working against it. That you should understand, because they are subsidizing rice, wheat, all this. So
I have a quick question.
yeah, actually, I have presented only 25% of my lecture. In fact, we systematically start from water, oils, sweet, sugar. We have everything worked out, the native things. That means all the things that human beings require for healthy living, we have step by step worked out and figured out what are the native natural things available. So I actually have given the book PDF. Please take it from him. All your questions step by step are answered, and we have also got 108 diseases listed, and each individual disease, what to do, what not to do, how to go about doing things to eliminate the disease from your body. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. This is, sir.
I have a question.
Yes.
Interesting book.
Yes.
I'm reading it now. Yeah. Online, yes.
Can I ask a question?
Please go ahead. Please introduce yourself.
Yes. My name is Prachi Rathi, and I'm sorry, I probably am joining late. I'm in the United States. My quick question is, and I probably caught the tail end of the conversation, how do you recognize natural millet versus the genetically modified millet, if there is something like that? And number 2 question is, where does quinoa, which has become very popular lately, stand in the mix of these grains?
What was the last part of your question? Quinoa, is it? Quinoa,
yes, sir.
Yeah, that is Chenopodium quinoa. It is actually a leaf. It is a pseudo grain which does not fit to be a grain at all. So you cannot have quinoa as our staple food for larger population, because you cannot grow enough. But whereas these grains, just India alone can feed the whole globe. And in fact, the amount of water required to feed Bihar If you give me that much water, I can feed the whole globe with millets. The whole globe with millets. And if I now extend little bit of African continent, we can feed 2 globes. Little bit of African continent. Now the whole African continent starts growing millets. We can feed 6 globes of 8 billion populations. So that means 8 into 6, 48 billion people can be fed in future if we decide to grow millets just in India and Africa. That's all. So imagine if the whole planet decides to grow this. In fact, my dream is if the whole planet grows, there is no need for selling. We can just go out, harvest and eat. It will be free because these 5 grains can grow anywhere on this planet. Anywhere on this planet. Anywhere on, including Himalayas and including Gujarat desert conditions. And that is the kind of qualities these grains have. So the real solution for sustainable and secured food security of human populations coming generations is to change our food, not go on meddling with nature.
Agreed, sir.
Is there anything as modified, genetically modified millet?
Is there anything genetically modified?
Not yet till things have, because people have just started listening the word millets only now, though there have been a lot of work going on, but no one bothered about it. Now that the health benefits and we have been establishing that lot of diseases can be healed, now the present world is slowly looking at it, and institutes like Millets Research and all are trying to open up their eyes right now. So maybe there will be some discoveries or avishkaras in the coming future. But then I personally feel we need to discourage all this and just be with nature. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, we'll close. Yeah. So thank you, sir. Thank you for that interactive session. And then anything you have to add, sir?
Dr. Mallikarjun.
Yes, sir. Patil, sir.
Dr. Prachi Rathi is from Florida. He is talking from USA.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Prachi Rathi,
Somebody
member of Comar.
from USA.
Sir, what is the question, sir?
Yeah, go ahead. His voice is not
Connected.
I have already asked my question. Thank you for the opportunity to ask my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
There is a lag between.
So I also have a question.
Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Rohini, and thank you for your wonderful talk. I also wanted to ask you, since my work at the Devator Center is also on millet, we've recently shown that the incorporation of synthetic fertilizers, its presence and absence on finger millets has led to a lot of disruption in the microbial diversity in soil. The incorporation of fertilizers leads to a reduction in nitrogen fixers, iron oxidizers, and also those microorganisms which are involved in the carbon cycle. So do you think that continuous exposure of millet because of the way of incorporation of these chemical fertilizers is going to compromise their nutritional quality? So what are your views on how to convince farmers to avoid these synthetic fertilizers?
Yeah, basically adding fertilizers to millet crops is not a good proposition because there is no water involved here. So it is the residues that are there in the soil because of heavy use of fertilizers and pesticides for other crops, and the dried lands are no exception because they are using these fertilizers and pesticides. But as I explained to you, within 2-3 crop rotations, the soil gets replenished by the natural microbes because the hordes of birds visit this
plots, and slowly the natural cleaning up of these soils happens, which we have demonstrated amply in our field. So we have to encourage and educate the common farmer not to be using the fertilizers, and but your question is whether a nutritional value gets affected or not. No, it does not get affected, because the biological physiological processes do happen, but then we accumulate residues, and then that will cause trouble, as it is causing trouble right now with other grains. So the genetic makeup of our millets does not compromise in making its raw nature. That will happen, that will continue to happen whether you have fertilizers or not. But then the residues, the pesticides or not, the residues will certainly have its impact on our health. So it's always good to have naturally grown millets for that particular reason.
Yeah, I will invite him to honor.
Well, anyway, thank you, sir. Sir, may I request our chairman, sir, Srinivasan, to give a memento on behalf of university.
That is waiting there, they are crossing that.
I know. That's why.
I also have to go back.
I know.
Last 5 minutes, sir, with
Yes.
vote of thanks and
Okay.
some.
No, sir is waiting.
We'll go then. We'll go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This is a cup and
Yes.
then so far.
Yes, thank you. So kind.
I request our advisor and national coordinator, Jay Rao of COMED, to give word of thanks.
I walk on. This is for go ahead. Something.
Yeah, start. I thank Dr. Kadarvalli for his most wonderful talk with a lot of scientific background. I think people who have been listening, they will go back with a scratching their head what to do. He has given a sufficient scientific background. I thank you once again, sir, for your most valuable and informative talk on behalf of COMED India and COMED International, on behalf of Dr. Parmesh and myself, and on behalf of Divyesh also. I thank our own man, Dr. Mallikarjun, who has come all the way from nearly 30 kilometers where he is teaching in Oxford University, Denta Medical College. And I also extend my heartfelt thanks to Professor Srinivasan. He has been always kind enough to provide us platform to address these issues. I thank Dr. Yashwant Patil, our international president, for taking part in this discussion. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to the all listeners. Thank you very much. Good evening.
It's already almost